Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the art of inner authority, like what storytelling taught me about leading myself. So welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something that has transformed not only the way I live but also the way I write stories. That is the art of inner authority. So what is inner authority? Well, it is the ability to trust your own judgment, make decisions from a place of self awareness, and remain grounded even when the world is full of opinions, expectations, and noise. Many people think self leadership is only useful in careers or relationships, but I believe it is equally important in creativity, storytelling, and writing. In fact, some of the greatest lessons about inner authority can be learned through stories. Because every story begins with a decision. Think about your favorite novel or film. Every story begins when a character makes a choice. Sometimes the choice is small, sometimes it changes everything. You know why? Because the hero decides to leave home, the detective decides to investigate, and the artist decides to create. The dreamer decides not to give up, and there are like many stories which move forward because characters choose a direction. And you know what? Life works the same way. Our personal stories are shaped by the decisions we make every day. Because the question is, are those decisions coming from our inner authority or from other people's expectations? So what are we supposed to do now is that we are supposed to trust our own intuition. So as a writer, I have learned that trusting your creative instinct is very important. Like there will always be opinions. Some people will love your ideas, others will question them. Some will tell you a story is too long, others will say it is too short. Some will encourage you, and others may not understand your vision at all. If you constantly change direction based on every opinion, your story loses its voice. And the same happens in life. Inner authority means listening to advice without surrendering your ability to think for yourself. Writers must develop this skill because every story requires confidence. Did you know that? Well, at some point, you have to trust your own voice. So, let's talk about emotions that is a part of the inner authority. Many fictional characters struggle because they allow emotions to control their decision. They react instead of responding. They panic instead of reflecting. And they follow fear instead of wisdom. As writers, we often explore these emotional journeys, but something interesting happens during the process. And you know what? What is the process? The process is that writing teaches us emotional awareness. When creating characters, we begin asking questions. So, why is this character afraid? Why is this character angry? What wound are they carrying? And what are they avoiding? Well, according to me, the more we understand our characters, the more we understand ourselves. Storytelling becomes a mirror, and the mirror helps us become emotionally self-led. So what you're supposed to do is that you are supposed to understand the challenge that you create for yourself. So one of the biggest challenges for creators is external validation. Will people like my work? Will they approve? Will they understand? Well, these questions are natural, but they can become dangerous if they control every decision. Imagine if every famous author had stopped writing because someone criticized their first draft. So many wonderful stories would never exist. The same principle applies to life. Inner authority doesn't mean ignoring everyone. It means not allowing every opinion to determine your direction. As storytellers, we must learn to separate feedback from identity. Someone may dislike a story, but that doesn't mean we stop writing. Someone may misunderstand us, But you know what? That doesn't mean we abandon our voice. Because that is important for the protagonist to understand, that it develops self-respect. Every protagonist develops self-respect. They stop seeking permission to exist. They stop apologizing for their dreams. They stop shrinking themselves to fit someone else's expectation. This transformation is often the heart of the story. Think about it. Many stories are really about self-respect. The character discovers their worth. The character learns to trust themselves. The character finally chooses their own path. What makes these stories powerful is that we recognize the same journey within ourselves. Self-respect is personal power. Did you know that? And personal power allows us to create honestly. So what do we want is that writers spend a lot of time building fictional worlds. We create cities, families, kingdoms, cultures, entire universes. But perhaps the most important world we build is our inner world. A grounded inner world gives us stability. It helps us navigate uncertainty. It gives us a place to return when life becomes overwhelming. For writers, this is especially important. Creative work often involves rejection, delays, criticism, and self-doubt. Without a grounded inner world, every obstacle feels like a disaster. With inner authority, obstacles become a part of the journey. And you know what? Storytelling teaches us something profound. Every character faces challenges. Every character experiences setbacks. Every character must eventually choose who they want to become. So the more stories we write, the more we understand that growth requires courage. And what do? We begin to see ourselves not as victims of circumstances, but as active participants in our own narrative. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We begin asking, what chapter am I in? What chapter am I in? I'm sorry. What lesson is this teaching me? How will this shape the next part of my story? And that shift changes everything. Becoming the author of your own life. This is the important idea. One of my favorite ideas is this. We are not just writing stories, we are living one. Every day becomes a page. Every decision becomes a sentence. And every season becomes a chapter. And just like a writer, we have choices. We can rewrite limiting beliefs. We can develop stronger characters within ourselves. We can create a better ending than we once imagined. That is the power of inner authority. So as we end today's conversation, I really want to leave you with this thought. The art of inner authority is not about controlling everything. It is about trusting yourself enough to navigate uncertainty. It is about becoming emotionally self-led. It is about respecting your own voice. It is about building an inner world strong enough to support your dreams. And if you are a storyteller, writer, artist, or creator, remember this. Every story you write teaches you something about your own life. Every character reflects a part of the human experience. And every chapter reminds us that growth happens when we choose to trust ourselves. Because in the end, the most important story you will ever write is the one you are living. Okay, so thank you for listening. Until next time, keep writing, keep creating, and keep becoming the author of your own story. Thank you for listening. See you in the next week.